What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition. We are here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I'm your host, Stevie. This is episode 476. If you're keeping track on this Pride week, alongside my co-host, partner in crime, Kodi Maurice Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. Happy Pride, darling. I have my Pride flag here.
Wonderful. And I love that you have that. You brought it out last year,
I
and
did.
it's not a event without that flag. So thank
That's
you.
right. Let's go. And I have on my
Absolutely.
Tags Podcast Pride shirt going on.
Nice.
I got all the
Nice.
pride.
Well, we are in front of a live virtual audience as we are every week. And I see some of you. Hello, Teddy. Ready to play, kids? Yes, we are. Hello, Bryce. And a bunch of others, Doug, I see, and so on. And let's keep this conversation going. We have so much to get into this Pride Week. One last reminder, we are in the middle, towards the end actually, of a Pride promo giveaway sponsored by adamstoybox.com, and take advantage of it. You've got another week to the end of June. It's a long month where you can get 25% off everything on adamstoybox.com. Use our promo code TAGS25 and take advantage of it. I'm talking about lube, cock rings, toys for your partner, toys for the partner you want to have, and everything. So take advantage of that. Go to adamstoybox.com, promo code tags25. And also, thank you guys for taking our survey. It's really going to help us out in so many ways, not only for the growth of the show, but for improvement and change. And we thank you for taking it. If you want to participate and take our survey, go to tagspodcast.com, click on the link. It's on every single page, Tags Promo Giveaway. We are giving away one of two Pride promo giveaways sponsored by adamstoybox.com, plus some tag swag thrown in for good measure.
Yes.
And we'll pick our winner after Pride. I'll probably wait till the end of June to pick the winner when I'm back in New York, because I'm in Puerto Vallarta.
Yes, Queen. I know. I'm so mad though. I'm missing you for Pride.
I know. I'm missing you guys over there, but I trust you will have a good Pride celebration. So enjoy. Well, we've got so much to get into on this episode, and we might as well just jump right in.
Oh yeah.
We're starting with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who in his mind plans on being the Democratic nominee for president here in the States. We know we have a lot of overseas listeners, but here in the States, we want to keep on top of this, because if this guy gets in, Kodi, it might not be good, because there's been some videos that have popped up for the man where he's said poppers caused AIDS, the environment makes boys trans, all said by Robert Kennedy Jr. He's a conspiracy theorist and anti-vaxxer back when the pandemic was happening.
Really?
And he is, just so you have a little bit of where does he fall in the Kennedy clan, he's the son of the former President John F. Kennedy's brother, the late Robert F. Kennedy, who served as his attorney general. And he will essentially challenge Joe Biden as the Democrat in 2024 election. And, if you don't like Biden, fine. If you think he's too old, we get it. But truth be told, he has supported the LGBTQ community since Obama. He was even more forward thinking than Obama. He helped shift Obama's mind to accept gay marriage. He was more progressive then and continues to in this administration. So if you are a little bit worried about that, you might want to pay attention to some of this stuff, because in two recently unearthed videos, John F. Kennedy Jr.'s essentially made bizarre and false claims about the existence of transgender people and the origin of AIDS. And he essentially said what we said at the beginning, that AIDS is caused by gays taking poppers, which is crazy. And he said things about trans kids. There's a whole story. I'll post this on Tag's podcast. not even worth getting into. But Kodi, without getting too much into politics and a little early to see who we're going to be voting for, we don't even know if he'll have a chance. But when you heard some of this stuff, what did you think?
At first I was laughing because how could you hear these things and not think it's a little bit comical? But then the reality of the situation kind of dawned on me. And I was thinking back to the 2016 election when he who shall not be named got elected,
Right?
and all of the hubbub surrounding that, and all the lies that he told, and how these lies can gain traction from people desperate enough to believe them, and how we don't want to let any falsehoods be out there as our narrative for our country. So I think that we should all be taking this seriously. Have a good little laugh about it at first, but take it very seriously right now, because we do not want a repeat of 2016, basically.
And he's supposed to be the Democratic
I
nominee,
know.
and not
We don't
very
claim him.
No, I mean, and just, everyone knows a conspiracy theorist in their arena. We all have those in somebody that says things. But when it's the leader of the free nation spreading them, particularly in our own community,
Yes.
we've got a major problem.
They're
And so
harmful. Exactly.
yeah, right. And it's only, if anything, if he were to become president, he'd probably, the right would love him,
Yeah.
because we already have this anti-LGBTQ notion going around the entire country right now, the world, and he would just play into that. So, aside from not knowing the rest of his politics, I just think what a mess that would be. And, give a little credit to the older guy, because he's been doing things okay for a minute. And
Biden is
yeah.
not that bad. He's doing okay. I
No.
mean, he's very progressive as far as LGBTQ rights are concerned. You said that earlier. And he's good. He's gaining some footing. I hope that in his second term, I don't want to get too political, like you said, that he's going to be doing great things, because in the first term, it's all about re-election, right? So fingers crossed.
Me too. Bryce, watching us live, says, how does he even know about poppers? That is hilarious, because the man's not the youngest man as well. And if he's straight, hetero, you're right. How does he even know about poppers? That's hilarious.
It made him trans. He's trans now, and he knows from experience that poppers make you trans.
Teddy says he is one of those that says to his wife that Grindr is a Bible quote app.
There it is.
There
It's a
it
cooking app.
is. I love your guys' comments. So awesome. Okay, well, we've got a lot to cover, and we want to move on to a Michigan news station that essentially sent a memo out that said, get both sides of a local pride event. What am I talking about? Well, Nexstar, the nation's largest operator of local TV stations, said Thursday it's conducting an investigation after a news director at a Michigan station told its journalists to scale back its Pride Month coverage and get this, get both sides on LGBTQ issues, saying their polarizing nature had upset some of its conservative viewers. Well, they're looking into WOO TV and the situation as this unfolds, because essentially the coverage of Pride Month activities in the area is not consistent with Nexstar's values, they said. The way we cover the news, or the respect we have for our viewers. This was kind of crazy, Kodi, when I heard this, because I think the key word that you and I were talking about in our meeting was get both sides. What sides are we talking about that we're trying to get? Because if I look at all my local news in New York, there's plenty of Pride profiles going on all month. There's the flag in the background. They're doing the coverage. I think WABC does coverage of the actual Pride event. They did coverage on Queen's Pride and various prides going on. And
I've been there. It's fun.
Lots of great coverage going on the local arena that, of course, New York being a little bit liberal, but we have definitely conservatives in the whole state of New York. I mean, all you got to do is go a little bit upstate, a little bit into Long Island, a little bit into the other borough that is a little bit more conservative that you and I don't.
Girlie, watch out, girl.
I'm not gonna. And so, but whether or not it's coverage, right? And I don't know what she meant by covering both sides, because it's, so if we were to cover Juneteenth, right? What is both sides of it? It's an actual holiday that celebrated the ending of slavery, the last people to find out in Texas, right? And it's the finality of slavery that we are celebrating now. It's become a holiday. There's not another side to it. If you don't really believe in it, you don't have to go to a parade, but it's like any other Asian American month. We're celebrating, but there's not two sides of it. The other side would be is all the anti-Asian hate that we saw when that was going on, or Black Lives Matter. That could be the other side of it. Maybe that's what she should have put in the memo, is the other side is we should be covering all the hate that's been going on as well. But I know that's not what she meant.
I was going to say, I don't think that's what she meant either, because I think that this is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that this comes from a news source is especially worrying, because how can we ever trust the stories that we are getting from the source of where we're supposed to be getting all of our information about what's going on in the country? I know I sound a little bit naive, but I trust what these news sources are kind of saying, and everything that happened with Fox News, maybe I shouldn't trust it so much, because they legitimately admitted that they were an entertainment station, that they did not report anything specifically for factual or based on the facts. It's really worrying. And like you said, the getting the both sides of it is what really got my goat, because what is the actual opposite side of pride? Homophobia? That somehow gay people should not feel pride in themselves? I would never tell anyone not to feel pride in themselves. And you and I and everyone that is homosexual should be allowed to feel just as prideful as John Boy or Karen down the street about who they are, because this is America at the end of the day. And we are allowed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Not Karen, but no, we love a good Karen.
We don't like the bad Karens. We like the good Karens.
Right. We just mean that in exactly. I think she's just playing into what's going on in the country right now, playing into that far right narrative of groomers that we keep talking about on this show. Girl. And that's what she's saying, that people are coming in. All the things we've been hearing about drag queen story hour, and that she's just playing into that. Those aren't stories. That goes back into conspiracy theories and what the far right has pushed. We did a whole morality study. We didn't do it, but we reported on it the other day on episode 475 about how the country, and it actually showed numbers on where we were in 2022 versus things like gay marriage and things like LGBTQ rights as opposed to this year. And it's dramatic shift. I think it was a 7-point shift in thinking less about the community over a year. And it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out what's been going on. And she's just playing into it. That's not journalism, though.
No,
that's not journalism. So yeah. We have a couple comments, I think. WOOTV, Calidad says, the clowns over there. Yeah, agreed. Happy Pride, Calidad. Reading that comment. Bryce says, the only grooming we care about is our hair. Okay.
That is, oh, yes. I'm going to start using that.
Yeah,
I don't have any hair, but when I did care a lot about it.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
So if we are doing both sides, should we be covering what the sea thinks about the Titan submersible? Girl, be quiet. And I thought that was amazing. So yes, we need to not cover both sides. There's only one side to pride.
Correct. Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of talk about standing up to brands when brands like Target have pulled back with their LGBTQ merchandise. We all know about that story. When Bud Light has been under fire for sending over a can with trans activists on the can, and then the far right have decided that they want nothing to do with Bud Light anymore. I, though, of course, and you were, Kodi, at a recent Folsom East in New York City. And
Oh yeah.
if you wanted to get a beer, there was one Hawaiian brand which I supported and got that one beer on draft. But the rest of it was Bud Light with the rainbow flag all over it. So they show up
Yes.
during, yeah. So however you feel about brands when they interlink with our community, whether they're allies or not. Switching over to Britain, Britain this Friday is going to be having the British LGBT Awards, and many of their nominees have pulled out of an event because of links to oil giants Shell and BP. Well, Shell and BP are essentially the sponsors of this event. But a number of people rejected their award nominations because they didn't like the liaison between Shell and BP. Who were those people? Well, they include comedian Joe Lycett, drag queen Cheddar Gorgeous,
Cheddar Gorgeous,
and trans artist and activist Fox Fisher. And in the past few days, various queer and environmental organizations, including Fossil Free Pride, Just Stop Oil, Tipping Point UK, and Queer House Party, have called out the awards for the fossil fuel partnerships. It was reported by The Guardian. Queer House Party issued an open letter on Monday saying that having companies such as Shell and BP advertise as the awards represents a defeat for LGBTQ community and an insult to everyone we stand in solidarity with internationally.
yes.
So it called many of their award nominees to actually, not wanted to support this. And
Yes.
when Cheddar said in a statement, while I recognize the importance of representation and celebrating our community's successes, it should never be at the expense of others, the Queen said.
That's right.
And I kind of agree with that. In our meeting, you weren't sure, you were a little bit
Yeah.
on the fence
Mhm.
on where you fell. I think we are at this fine line right now where we're looking at sponsorships and we're looking at companies that decide to be allies and quote unquote big business. And when they come into, for example, like Bud Light, and you see them splashed all over Pride events, but then they're getting a lot of backlash sometimes. Although I think Bud Light has done nothing wrong in that
Oh
situation.
yeah.
Far right that has decided they don't want Bud Light anymore, and maybe they're losing a lot of business over it. It's an interesting sponsorship to have Shell and BP, though, as to sponsor such a
I
major
know,
event.
right?
So it doesn't really seem very LGBTQ, and I think it was. I appreciate the closer look at it and people calling it out. I don't know if you got nominated for an award, Kodi, and it was sponsored by, and you heard what was going on, would you relinquish your nomination?
I mean, depending on who it was, if it was Shell or BP, upon further introspection, thinking about it more introspectively about my own personal, how I feel about the climate change and things. It's actually, it doesn't matter how you feel about climate change because climate change is real, and
Affecting us all.
it's affecting us all, and the effects are actually happening in current times. It's in real time here. It's 60 degrees in New York City right now. It's in the middle of June, which is ridiculous. And the city was practically the whole northeastern starboard or whatever, however you say it, was covered in wildfire smoke from Canada because
Right.
of climate change. So this is happening and it's real. And I'm glad that Cheddar Gorgeous, who I adore, and all of these other people are standing up for what they believe in because it's bringing awareness to this topic. Because otherwise, like you said, I was kind of on the fence about it before, but now I am steadfastly against anything that has to do with fossil fuels and things of that nature, because we have to start finding, I don't want to be on my soapbox right now, but we have to start finding ways to power this world without burning the earth out completely.
And these awards, maybe they've been long-standing. I don't know enough background about how long these awards have been going on and whether or not Shell or BP have been the sponsors over years, prior years, right? Where maybe, like you said, we're living in this in real time. We're noticing the effects of global warming happening all around us in real time. Like I'm here in Puerto Vallarta, and they
Hmm.
said it should be raining normally, and it's oppressively hot in the
Oh,
month of
wow.
June. And so, like you said, we are living in real time with this. So maybe in the past, this wasn't such an issue, and we're happy to have them as sponsors. But
Hmm.
people are, you might wonder, well, what does this have to do with our community? Well, it does, because like you said, when it is affecting all of us and the way we live and travel, and we're a huge traveling community, that
Yes.
it does affect us. And so where maybe in the last several years, if they were a part of it in the past, maybe we weren't thinking of it the way we are now, and we will. And it maybe will step up some of these large organizations to do something because they have a lot of the power.
That's
They're
right.
not going to change everything immediately, but at least they can, maybe it will shift. So I applaud everyone that is stepping up and saying their piece about this, and hopefully people will follow suit on this.
That's right.
It's sad because it's probably a great award show, and you don't want to condemn all the hard work that went into producing this, but change has to happen when, like you said, we're living in this in real time.
Exactly. Exactly. Some of the comments that are going on, people are really they're trying to debate on what award I would be nominated for.
He could be a host. He
Thank
is
you,
a
darling.
singer.
Thank you, darling.
Yes, I could think of a lot of them. Yes.
That's not what they said in the comments.
Read one of them and I'll move on.
They said the Cockster for outstanding performance by a top in a leading role. I
Ooh,
live.
that's so
Thank you.
specific. And I feel like I would be nominated for Best Expression being pounded by a 10-inch
Yes.
pop in what how did you say the last of it?
In a leading
In a leading
role.
role.
Yes.
Yes, let's
We-
get
I
specific
am just a
about
poll,
ours.
darling. I am just a poll. All right.
And I'm
Sounds
Best
good to me.
Expression for taking a good 10-inch pounding in a leading role. Okay. Well, we don't really love talking about him, but we all post on Twitter, many of us, and have Twitter accounts. And so we got to talk about Elon Musk for a second, because he claimed use of cis and cisgender on Twitter is harassment and threatens to suspend users. So it all started yesterday after James Esses, who's an anti-trans commentator, posted yesterday, after posting a tweet saying that I reject the word cis and don't wish to be called it. I received a slew of messages from trans activists calling me sissy and telling me that I am cis, whether or not I like it, Esses wrote. Just imagine the roles were reversed, he said. And in response, Musk decided to get involved because he owns Twitter. And he said repeated targeted harassment against any account will result in the harasser, at minimum, having their account temporarily suspended. The words cis or cisgender are considered slurs on this platform, he stated. Boy, talking about getting things all wrong and
Right?
and getting involved in something, when reports have shown that GLAAD published a whole report that showed that Twitter, along with other major social media platforms, consistently failed to protect LGBTQ plus people from abuse.
Wow.
And there's been more and more stories that show Twitter is the worst when it comes to protecting. And we know Elon Musk is not about to be an ally for LGBTQ plus people.
Yeah.
When you heard this, what did you think?
I thought, when is this man going to get away from Twitter? I thought he was resigning as the head of Twitter. He was going to appoint someone different. I liked it much better when he was just that weird man that named his kid R2D2 or something like that. I don't know, element of P. I have no idea. I liked him so much better then. When is he going to get his head out of his ass and understand that cisgender is a scientific term dating back to a biologist that coined the phrase in 1994. It's not harassment. Your brain is small, and yeah, that's it. I guess I just harassed him right now by calling his brain small.
And whatever happened to free speech that
Right?
he so talked about, that the platform is for free speechers? Why is he inserting himself in any of these conversations? It's fine if the anti-trans guy that we just reported on said what he said, and fine, let people discourse that on the
Yes.
platform. He does not need to come in and say mistruths and weigh in on this and then determine that those are words that we cannot say anymore. It goes against everything that he said the platform was for, free speech.
Exactly.
And so X yourself out of the conversation. No one wants to hear from you. Get out of Twitter universe too, and go back to the cars, which you did a good job with. Which I don't like those cars, by the way.
I know,
Have you ever tried to
right?
get into, what's the name of the car?
Tesla.
Have you ever tried to get into one? You're trying to look cute, and how do I open this damn door? You can't figure out how to open that stupid door, and then you get
Like a
into
space
it.
door.
My friend's gonna hate me because my former college roommate has one, and you get in there and like it's an empty shell of a car. There's
Yeah.
nothing but this stupid screen, and it looks like, I don't know, it looks bad. I don't like the design of it at all.
Me
Sorry,
either.
owners.
He can go back. Until he starts protecting LGBTQ plus people, he can just keep his opinions on cisgender to himself. Okay? How
Right.
about that?
There you go. And there's this other thing on Teslas too, where you can do a fart noise that everybody loves. It's ridiculous, and I hate bathroom jokes. So yeah.
Do
Anyway,
you really?
yes.
I'm gonna write
I've-
that down.
yeah.
Tell more bathroom jokes on the podcast.
Okay. All right. I'm really excited to talk about this next story, partly because I went to a gym here in Puerto Vallarta. More on that to come. But there is a brand new study that revealed why you might feel horny after going to the gym. It's a German study. I love that it comes from Germany, that says physical exertion increases men's response to sexual stimuli. The research explored how exercise impacts the sympathetic nervous system. That's the part of the nervous system that prompts your fight or flight response. Stress, fear, exercise triggers this system. However, a few studies have concentrated on whether it all impacts sexual arousal. So this particular study recruited 43 male students, mainly in their 20s. Okay, well, aren't they all horny? The researchers split these men into two groups, the stressor group and the control group. And what they did was they took, in the stressor half, they took part in a physically stressful activity for about 3 minutes, in this instance, squeezing hard on hand grips. After the exercise, collection of images were shown to two groups. Each photo flashed up a screen for 5 seconds, and the photos consisted of the following: violent, threatening images, sporting activities, sexual erotica featuring male-female couples, or more benign images of nature or everyday social interactions. So just to be clear, when Kodi and I were reading this story, we realized that when they found out some of the guys were gay and bisexual, they didn't even include them in the story. So, or in the study, which that's a whole different conversation.
I
Correct,
know,
Kodi?
right?
But
discrimination. Yes.
the results were clear. The men who undertook just a few minutes of exercise showed a more intense response to sexual stimuli. And the good news, reactions to violent images and the more benign images remain pretty similar between the two groups. We all know, though, that excitability and endorphins raise when you have any sort of physical activity, but they theorize that our body's response to sexual activity is due to a combination of complicated excitatory and inhibitory processes. Short-term physical exertion prompts the release of euphoria, producing endorphins. So not so much.
You sound like a genius. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. I think the thing about, first of all, their 20-year-old study group is
Yeah.
who wasn't horny when flashed an image of anything. But I was with a friend of mine, my counterpart around my age, driving around in his car the other day before I left New York. And he's straight actually. And there's all
Okay.
these women walking around. And he's like, my dick's getting hard. Just watching it. He's like, is that how you guys are? Is that how you guys are? I
I
said,
know,
kinda.
right?
If you've ever walked around the city with me, and I know your boyfriend caught me, I am a swivel head, particularly spring, summer, when short shorts are on. I'm a big calf lover. We were calling out somebody who had these beautiful calves, and you said, hey, calves, and you screamed it out because I saw that. I'm
Harassing more people. I was just harassing people left and right on the street too, child. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
And then cut to, I'm at this gym today in Puerto Vallarta, and it's an old school gym, a warehouse gym where there's no air conditioning, there's just open windows and fans, great equipment, bodybuilder type gym. I was so in my like loving the moment so much. There was one guy that was so hot. And you know, a lot of straight guys will look over you and they catch your eye, that's it, and they
Mhm.
do everything to never look at you again. This guy looked over several times, and I want to go back because I felt like we had sort of a connection. We have a story that
Oh.
we're going to pair this up with in a second, but
Oh.
I was totally turned on by that moment, but it gave me more juice to continue on my workout, to be in an element like that. Was I
Mhm.
horny afterwards? Yeah, I think so. Are
Yeah.
you horny when you have a hard workout, when you post workout?
Oh yes, darling. I'm always horny after a hard workout. I'm like one of those 1-800 phone sex
Yes,
operators. Just
exactly. 976.
yeah, I feel that. I've noticed after a very good hard workout, man, this is just really getting to the space where yeah, it just I feel like the endorphins are going, it makes you a little bit happier, the blood is rushing, and as far as your genitals are concerned, your dick, I forgot we're not using scientific terms on here. Your
Correct.
when your dick and it takes a lot of blood. So when the blood starts rushing, then that also gets a little bit engorged. And I feel like all the things that happen is when you work out, and all the hot men that are there, the hot men and the hot women, because in this space they surveyed heterosexual men only. So I feel like that is why a lot of the gym is a very sexy space. So I can definitely understand why this happened. And they're 20 years old. When I was 20 years old, the wind could blow in my direction and I get a hard on. So
Yeah, it's interesting because, we have another show that's coming out in the fall that's totally for our LGBTQ community. Well, more on that to come.
yes.
But we were talking to a fitness expert for that program. And, in general, I think you and I were in agreement that the reason we work out is for blood. One of the reasons we work out for, aside
Mhm.
from aesthetics, is for increased blood flow. And
Yes.
that's like for our brain, that's to keep us sexual
Mhm.
and ready to go. And whether or not immediately after a workout I feel horny, I do these workouts and I put myself in elements like this particular gym to see inspiration around me and
Oh,
to know
yes.
that I'm getting my blood flowing on a daily basis, to get so that I can do all the activities that I want to do. Number one, sex.
That's
And
right. Top of the
yeah,
list. Look better
so
naked. That's what somebody
exactly,
else.
look better naked, exactly. So I think it's an obvious study that they came to, and you're right, the 20-year-olds, and I think they should have included bi and gay men in this study,
And
but
older men as well.
and
Yeah.
older men as well. The importance of physical activity, and if it helps, and we know it does help, but there's a lot of factors in there. Caladad watching us live says, I think the majority of men and boys are curious about other dicks. So
Mhm.
everybody's peeking. I agree with that
Me too.
too. You just can't help but look when someone's, and even straight guys look in your direction, or they're looking at your biceps, whether or not they're into you that way, it's when you get that gaze that you
Yes.
know something's more, correct?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I've had a lot of mixed signals when it comes to me and being in the gym. I've practically hit on straight men in the gym because they were looking at me being muscular and lifting a lot of weight, and they want to be like me. And
Okay.
I would interpret that as, them wanting me, which is not the same thing.
And maybe they were. You never know.
You never know.
Let's pair it up with this Reddit thread that is on the same lane here. And they wrote, navigating gym encounters and mixed signals. They write, obviously, I'm aware that approaching someone in the gym can be a delicate situation, and it's important to be respectful and considerate of others' boundaries. However, I'm surrounded by beautiful men who occasionally make intense eye contact with me. I'm genuinely terrified of making a move on someone who may not be interested or might not be gay, which could be really awkward. I've been going to the gym for a few weeks now, so there's no way I could be imagining this. This man repeatedly makes eye contact with me, and I'm wondering how I could have been so blind to his body language. I've caught him looking at me multiple times. Nevertheless, I'm unsure about how to approach the situation, especially considering he always has his AirPods on. Should I
Mhm.
make a move? If so, what approach should I take? Or should I simply focus on my workout? The situation is both exciting and nerve wracking. And I feel you on this one, Redditor, because I've been in that situation too, where it's constant and you know you're not out of your mind, that there's something more going on there. I don't think there's anything wrong with going up to somebody and just saying, hey, or doing a nod,
Mhm.
and maybe going in their area and just saying, how you doing, kind of thing. I I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And
Yeah.
see the vibe that you get from them when you say, how you doing? Or what would be some things that you would say? Would you go up to this person, or would you
Oh.
simply ignore it and go back to working out?
I would totally go up to this person that was making eye contact with me. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't shoot. So shoot every shot. Okay. So I would go up to them, but I would pretend like I was trying to learn some things about the gym. Like, how do you lift this barbell without hurting yourself? Or what's the proper form for this? Strike up a conversation that way. And perhaps at the very least, you can get a gym buddy. So I think that as long as you are being respectful and you are going with the vibes instead of kind of inserting yourself or assuming someone's sexuality, then you should be fine in these interactions.
Yeah, in my case, with this one, I'll have to make sure I get my Spanish on point a little bit, because
Oh.
which adds a little bit more of a layer, because but I could do okay. And I could say I'm new here and I like this gym.
Yeah.
And how long have you been working out here? There's another gym I could reference that I don't like as much. And you know I could probably strike up some easy breezy conversation that was
Mhm.
could be anybody. There's a guy in my current gym in my building that I had a crush on for so long. I know he's straight now. We have the greatest conversations now. Every time I go in there, it's
Mhm.
simply platonic
Yeah.
and just two guys. We really check in on each other all the time, and it's really nice. And it wasn't what I expected, and that's okay.
That's
But
so
he's turned out
wonderful.
to be a great gym buddy, and my straight gym buddy, and I really enjoy our conversations and when we check in on each other, and we really care about each other, in those few moments. And
Yeah.
so I like that.
That's lovely.
Yeah, and I think you can just approach all of that with, like you said, be careful, be respectful, you know, don't grab your crotch,
Don't grab their crotch.
don't grab their crotch, don't linger too long. See what vibe you get back. That's part of the fun. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
spending a lot of time in there, you're probably 9 times out of 10 right that you're getting a vibe from this person.
Yeah.
And if it amounts to something, you hit the jackpot. But I really want you to repeat what you said in your opening answer, that we shoot a lot of shots. And
oh, yes.
What did you say? Because that's really good advice.
I said that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't shoot. So
Okay, now,
if you shoot every shot,
and that is why Kodi should be nominated for a Brit Award for that alone.
For
y'all.
best cock.
Drop the mic.
And on the flip side, you got a nice gym buddy that at your gym. Me, I have had experiences where I have hooked up with people in the actual gym just by going over and being friendly. I've been in shower stalls with guys that I've in the gym, where by some eye contact and being a little friendly, they have invited me into their stall and we've had a little bit of fun, and it's been great. So you never know what can come of it.
Well, now you're talking about a whole different type of a gym, which we all know some of those gyms.
It wasn't a bathhouse, I promise you.
With gay men. I'm loving my neighbor right now, who's working out at a prominent gym that's this exclusive, fun gay gym that popped up overnight, and every gay is there, and he's already had a million hookups and dates out of just going there. So there's those kind of gyms. I've been to those in the past too. I think for a lot of us, going to where it's a mixed bag of people, it's not as obvious. And I think that's where this Redditor was coming from. But if you belong to one of those, we want to hear some of those stories. So share with us. You could be anonymous, but we want to hear from you on those. So absolutely. What are people saying before we move on?
People are saying, Kalida says, I think the majority of men, and we already read that one. Teddy says that I'm the gay Leo Tolstoy, and I completely agree. And he also goes on to say that shower stalls, that escalated, that story escalated pretty quickly. And I said, you know how I do. I escalate things really quickly.
Yes. All righty. All right, thanks, guys. We are live, and this next story, I'm really excited to read this author's brand new book, hoping to get him on the show. But the author, Manuel Betancourt, wrote a book called The Male Gazed: On Hunks, Heartthrobs, and What Pop Culture Taught Me About Desiring Men. If that title doesn't get you, he was in a recent interview with LGBTQ Nation. Great interview, worth posting on tagspodcast.com, which I will do, associated with episode 476, so you could read it. Check out his book, though, and like I said, I'll try and get him on the show. When he was talking and asked by LGBTQ Nation about social media and about queer erotica in particular, they asked him, let's talk a little bit about Instagram, because I get a sense from the book you have a problem with it. Well, he said, I have so many friends who are artists and who do a lot of work that is figurative and erotic and that plays with nudity. And I've been seeing firsthand how a lot of their posts get taken down, even though they fall under the kind of rules that Instagram has laid out, which is, when it comes to art, so long as it's art, it should stay up. And a lot of it gets taken down. This really obviously resonated with me because as a queer gay podcast that talks openly about sex positivity, which is art, that we not once but twice have gotten our Instagram taken down. And I'm really glad that he has spoken up about this, because they asked him, do you see a double standard when it comes to straight art? And he said, absolutely. He says, the pictures of scantily clad women are allowed to be up, but if you post a semi-naked guy in briefs, then apparently you're violating their guidelines. And he also voices the concern that you never have anybody you can talk to. Like, if they take you down, you're down, and that's it. That's end of story. So he said it's funny when you. So I that really resonated with me. I don't know. What did you think when you heard about that? Because we're going to talk about a couple other things that he's talked about.
Yes, he hit the nail on the head with this one. The gay shadow banning is rampant over at Instagram, and just completely discontinuing entire profiles on Instagram because, like you said, there's so many people that have had to start all the way over after having their profiles taken down, and this is their primary way that they advertise whatever content that it is that they publish. It is all valid, and our heterosexual counterparts are not being penalized in the same way that we are. And it's really sad because Britney Spears can show her boobies on Instagram, but I can't be in a Speedo. And it's really worrying to me. So I completely agree with him. It's something that should not happen, and we need to be on Instagram's ass.
And it's always the people that don't have Britney Spears followers as well that are getting targeted and getting removed, and the people that have millions of followers that continue to keep their content up. It plays into a larger conversation of a socioeconomic whole thing that is not equal at all. And you know, so many of us queer artists use social media platforms. We trust them, and it's you know, so unsatisfying and annoying on so many levels. But one of the other things in this interview that he was talking about as well was about the apps like Grindr and Scruff. And they asked the question, how do you think dating apps like Grindr and Scruff affect men's self-esteem? Well, Manuel Betancourt said they have created a wave of anxiety that we all have about what we're supposed to look like, to be desired, especially among people who are not, you know, white and fit and don't fit a particular kind of model. I think that's always been there within the community, but they've exasperated the issue, and it's become harder to ignore because now we have receipts and we have ways of actually seeing them play out right in front of us in ways that maybe before were a little more discreet. And he actually said with his own book, well, let's just talk about the apps. When pressed a little bit more, he says, you know, I think you should look at them as what they are. As with everything, as long as you think of it as a tool will never inherently be good or bad. It will always be about how it's used. There's ways in which those apps have probably opened up a lot of experiences, and it isn't that it's so much easier to find like-minded people who like what you like or who want what you are offering. Before, you went to specific bars or specific alleys or specific parties for that. You could think of it as a democratization of a kind of cruising. So I appreciate what he's saying there, that if you just think of it as a tool, that it's not perfect, and like a good tool, you make the most out of it and make it work for you. I think that's how we have to start thinking about some of these apps instead of getting so frustrated when you see things like we talk about all the time. We were talking on the last episode about people that don't look like their apps. You know, have somewhat of a grain of salt with some of these apps, and you know, I think I like what he's saying. Did you like what he was saying on this?
Oh yes, he is preaching and pontificating on this subject right here because I completely agree with what he's saying. Grindr is a tool at the end of the day, and you can use it to get whatever you want out of it. So if you want to date someone, Grindr is a good tool to go and date someone. If you would like to increase your social circle, you can use Grindr to go increase your social circle. I know a lot of people that even use it for career opportunities. But what really resonated with me was what he said about how buff white men are what the apps are telling us is the objects of beauty. They're basically the standard. I almost fell out of my chair because that is something that I have been saying for so long and that I have had to unlearn myself. There are so many types of beauty out here in this world, and you are cheating yourself if you only appreciate one. Also, when he said that the apps are basically receipts out there, everything that lives on the internet lives forever, number one, and you can't hide from the written word. That's why they're banning books out there.
Absolutely. I mean, Manuel Betancourt, we want to get him on the show because we could dive deep into an amazing conversation about the community and his thoughts. And
Yes.
we're working on that, you
I
guys.
want to talk to him so bad because I have so many questions for him.
Yeah. Before we move on, I think there was a comment there from Teddy.
He says it is rampant in social media as a whole, and he knows many friends that have lost entire roster of clients and portfolios. It has huge consequences on their income.
Got it. I love that. Okay. You know, we want to play a game that we haven't played in a while, and it's called Straight Up Gay Porns. Who took the best shot?
My favorite.
And we haven't done it in a minute. I know some of you love it, and I know some of you have heard from you on the survey. We're going to play it, though. It's our job on an audio podcast to vividly describe who got our fancy of the week and why, which porn star OnlyFans sensation. We'll post this on tagspodcast.com so you can make your own selection and be sure to vote and support Straight Up Gay Porns when they put this together. This week it was 14 gay porn stars, and who took the best photo? Did you have one that caught your fancy?
I have a couple that caught my fancy on this one. This one was a good week, and 3 of my favorite porn stars are on this list. Looking like snacks over here. But my vote this week, it goes to Sean Severin. I've had a crush on him for the longest time, so he's going to get my vote this week. He only gets better as time goes on also. So he is sitting on a stool, and he's in a backwards baseball cap with a dog collar and a chain that he is holding ever so daintily. He's also, I know, right? He's all the way at the bottom, guys.
Oh, I see him. Yes.
Yes.
Wow. I love the way he's holding that chain.
Right? So sexy. He's also wearing a mesh thong that he's pulled to the side to reveal a cage cock, which I think is so hot. So, Joe, watch out. I might be, doing a couple things to you after seeing this picture.
I love it. And my vote goes this week to he's just a one-hit wonder, Axel, Axxel. And the reason why I picked him, because maybe it's just because I came off of Folsom East, where a lot of skin was showing, a lot of hairy crotches were showing, including my own. This guy has got a very sexy beard. He's got a "don't fuck with me" look on his face with his arms crossed. And he's got a t-shirt on, which I think is really sexy, and then nothing underneath. And the way he's angled, the camera's looking up. He's got this nice, thick, hairy thighs, and he's not even hard. But I just love the casual nature of the way he's sitting there, really confident, and the dick is soft and yummy looking, just sitting there. And I just want to crawl up in between that crotch and get to work.
Oh yes, he's handsome too.
Yeah. Other people are voting for Edward Tarrant. Yes, Doug says, and I like that. Keep them coming. As we'll read more as we finalize this episode. It's Pride Week, and we started with some stories that weren't the best for our community, but we wanted to end on a high note.
Yes.
And we keep talking about some really great sports stars that are really becoming allies, we really need these kinds of allies. And we'll start with pro wrestler CM Punk, who gave a speech supporting the LGBTQ plus community. And it went viral over the weekend after he expressed his support for the community during a speech for All Elite Wrestling's new show, AEW Collision. And one of the things, he's 44, he's a professional wrestler, and he made the response to the backlash that he received after promoting an ice cream bar that supports transgender youth. And he started his speech by mocking anti-LGBTQ people, saying, "You can't argue with stupid. The reason I support trans kids, trans grown-ups, gay and lesbian is because I know when I was growing up, I didn't fit in anywhere. That it was because of the clothes I wore, what my hair looked like, and the music I listened to. Those are all things I can rectify. I can comb my hair. I can listen to jazz. But to somebody who's gay, lesbian, and especially trans, I don't know what it feels like to be trapped in a body that I don't feel like I belong in. That is why I support that, because I know I didn't fit in anywhere until I found pro wrestling. And he finally says, support trans kids, support gay and lesbian rights. I want everyone to be themselves. Just do no harm to everybody else. Bravo.
That's right.
In my mind, CM Punk.
Love that. Thank you, CM Punk.
And then also goalie on the American soccer team, Matt Turner, is the latest pro athlete to show his support for LGBTQ fans during Pride. And they recently played Mexico. And Mexico's fans have had a recent trend to yell out homophobic slurs. What? The P word, that is essentially the F word that we were saying on the show the other day. And it goes against everything we stand for, he told reporters. We've been very vocal about the strength of our team being our diversity, the strength of our nation being its diversity. So to use something so divisive, it has no place in the game. And he really stands against all of the hate, as does FIFA, the soccer league's team, and so, or excuse me, the organization. And so I just commend him as well. And I think we need more of these allies to really stand up and show their support.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So I'll post these on textpodcast.com so you can read the whole thing, watch the videos for some of them in the case of Matt Turner, and see what they're really saying. So we love that. Happy Pride, everybody. As many of you celebrate, I know San Francisco will be celebrating it. New York will be celebrating it this weekend. Wherever you are, we wish you a very happy Pride. Just Pride comes in many ways, and you can feel Pride by going to festivals, celebrations, concerts, but you can also just feel prideful for yourself, for being a part of a community that has been oppressed and that really you feel proud to be a part of, the LGBTQ plus community. And we salute you, we support you, and we thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
You can always follow my co-host on Instagram. He's a life coach, and follow him at KMD Coaching. But also follow his personal account, as I'm sure he'll be posting pics from this weekend's Pride. Mr. Maurice. And follow me. I'm sure I'll post some things here in Mexico with _Steve V. _Steve V. And thanks, guys. Thanks for playing along. And in the meantime, Kodi,